Chapter 4, Release It Here. Seth. Seth's phone lit up on the passenger seat like a flare. Dark truck outside my facility again. Engine running. I'm inside. For a half second, his brain tried to treat it like any other update, file it, prioritize it, follow procedure. Then something hotter and more primitive cut through the neat stack of rules in his head. Again. He gripped the steering wheel and turned the truck toward Nina's facility so hard the tires whispered protest on the pavement. Dispatch was a dead zone out here. His radio had been static since Quarry Road, the river corridor swallowing signal like it had teeth. Seth tried anyway because he refused to accept no from geography. Dispatch, this is Warden Roland. Possible suspicious vehicle near Dr. Hart's facility. Requesting local unit for assist. Nothing but hiss. Static. A hollow laugh. Damn it. He switched channels. Tried again. Static. Seth's jaw tightened until it ached. He pulled his phone up to his ear. 1 bar. 2. Then it dropped. He lowered it slowly, fury sharp and controlled. If this was a coincidence, it was a coincidence that was starting to look like a pattern with intent. He drove faster than he liked to drive, faster than this county's curves wanted him to drive, his eyes scanning every shoulder, every tree line, every parked vehicle that could be a watcher. His mind ran through options like a checklist. Approach quietly. Confirm plate. Don't spook the driver into bolting toward her. And then unwelcome, unprofessional thought. Don't let her walk into the dark alone. He hadn't known Dr. Nina Hart existed 16 days ago. Now the idea of her pinned behind a locked door while someone waited outside made something inside him go cold. He swung into the gravel lot with his headlights off for the last stretch, letting moonlight do the work. The facility sat low and dark except for one interior light, a dim rectangle near the lobby. The truck was there. Older model. Dark. Parked near the far edge of the lot where the streetlight didn't reach. Engine idling. Windows tinted. Seth killed his engine and sat still, watching. No movement inside. No visible face. Just the steady hum of a vehicle that had no reason to be there at nearly 7 at night unless it did. He eased his door open, slow, careful. Cold air knifed in. Gravel shifted under his boot. He didn't take his eyes off the truck. He lifted his phone, thumb hovering. 1 bar. Then none. Of course. Seth's hand moved to his flashlight. He didn't turn it on yet. Light was a declaration. He wanted the advantage of surprise as long as he could keep it. He moved along the shadow side of the facility, keeping distance, angling toward the truck so his approach wasn't a straight line. Straight lines got you noticed. Straight lines got you shot. Halfway there, something caught his eye high up on the corner of the building where the eaves met the siding. A small dark shape. Not part of the structure. Too square. Too deliberate. Seth froze. He narrowed his eyes and stepped closer, tilting his head to catch the angle of moonlight. A trail camera. Mounted on Nina's building. A second one sat lower on a fence post near the lot, aimed directly at the front door and the parked vehicles. Seth felt his blood go colder than the night. They weren't just watching the woods. They were watching her. He raised his flashlight and clicked it on clean, bright, and aimed it straight at the truck. The interior lit up in sharp slices through the windshield glare. Still no face. But he saw movement, fast and sudden, a shoulder shifting, a hand dropping low, like the driver had been leaning down out of view. Seth didn't hesitate. He stepped out into the open, badge visible, voice controlled and loud enough to carry. Game warden. Turn the vehicle off and show me your hands. The truck's brake lights flared. The engine revved. Seth's body went tight. Don't, he warned, the word low and deadly. The truck surged forward anyway, gravel spraying, tires spinning for half a second before they caught. It shot toward the lot exit like it had practiced the route. Seth moved fast, not chasing like a fool, but angling to get what mattered. Plate. Make. Model. Any identifying mark. His light caught the back end long enough to snag the license plate. Except it wasn't a real plate. It was a dealer tag. Paper. Flapping. No numbers he could read before the truck fishtailed onto the road and vanished into the dark. Seth stood there with the beam of his flashlight cutting through empty air, jaw clenched so hard his molars hurt. Then he turned, scanning the lot, the trees beyond the road. No immediate threat. But the cameras remained silent witnesses with hungry little lenses. His pulse hammered once, then steadied. Anger was useless. Action wasn't. He moved to the fence post camera first, careful not to touch it barehanded. He pulled an evidence bag from his truck and a pair of gloves. Slid them on. Unstrapped the camera from its mount the way you disarmed a trap, slow, deliberate, no sudden jerks. He bagged it. Labeled it with shaking fingers he refused to acknowledge. Camera, Dr. Hart facility, parking lot, possible suspect surveillance. Then he looked up at the one on the building eave. It was higher. Whoever mounted it had either been tall, used a ladder, or had time to climb. Time. Access. Privacy. Seth took a step back and swept his light across the siding. Their faint but visible if you knew what to look for were scuffed marks below the eave line. Boot rubber. A partial print. Someone had planted a foot and pushed upward. He felt fury flare. They were comfortable here. Seth went inside his truck, grabbed a small step ladder from the bed, standard gear, along with caution tape, spare water, and more paperwork than any man should have to carry, and set it beneath the eave. He climbed carefully, unstrapped the camera, bagged it. 2 cameras aimed at one woman's door. That wasn't curiosity. That was intimidation. That was preparation. He climbed down and turned toward the building, eyes catching the faint outline of Nina's silhouette behind the lobby window. She was still inside. Good. He crossed the gravel to the front door and knocked once, then twice, a distinct pattern. Not frantic. Not soft. The lobby light flicked brighter. The door opened a crack. Nina's face appeared in the gap, hair slightly wild, eyes sharp, warmth and fire held in the same body, like conflicting storms. She wore her coat, keys in one hand, her posture deceptively calm. She took one look at him, and her shoulders dropped a fraction. "You came," she said, not quite relief, not quite accusation. "Both." Seth kept his voice even. "Are you alone?" Nina's mouth twitched. "Hello to you too." "Nina." She held his gaze for a beat, then nodded once. "Yes." Everyone left. Seth's jaw tightened. "Lock the door behind you." Her eyebrows lifted. "Excuse me." "I need you to come with me," he said. "Right now. You're not staying here alone tonight." Nina's eyes narrowed instantly, free spirit bristling on contact. "I'm not leaving my patients." "I'm not debating," Seth said, and immediately hated the way it sounded because it was too sharp, too much like he was ordering her instead of protecting her. Nina's chin lifted. "You don't get to not debate in my hospital." Seth exhaled slowly, forcing his tone down, forcing his words into something more than command. "Someone mounted cameras on your building," he said. 2 of them. Watching your door. Your lot. And there was a truck out there again. It fled when I lit it up." Nina went still. All her humor drained out of her face like water. "What?" she said softly. "Do you mean cameras?" Seth held up the sealed evidence bags so she could see the shapes inside. "These." Nina stared at them, her eyes wide for the first time since he'd met her. Not fear exactly, something more focused. Rage with a heartbeat. "They were watching me," she whispered. "Yes," Seth said. Her gaze snapped to him. "How long?" "I don't know yet," he admitted. "We'll pull the SD cards and find out." Nina's breath hitched. She swallowed it back. Then she did something Seth didn't expect. She stepped outside. Not rushing. Not panicking. Just stepping into the cold like she refused to be cornered by it. Seth's body went tight. "Nina," he warned. "I'm not running," she said, voice low. "I'm looking." Seth scanned the tree line automatically, his hand hovering near his belt, not dramatic, just ready. Nina's eyes tracked over the gravel lot, the fence line, the road where the truck had disappeared. Then she tilted her head as if listening for something that wasn't sound. "I hate this," she said finally, quiet and furious. "I hate that they're trying to make me feel unsafe in the one place I'm supposed to be." Her voice caught. She stopped it hard. Seth watched her fight for control and felt something in his chest tighten in a way he didn't have a protocol for. "You did the right thing by locking yourself in," he said. Nina's laugh was harsh. "Yeah, huge win. I should put it on the brochure. Come tour our facility, now with stalker upgrades." Seth didn't smile. He couldn't. "This is serious." Her eyes flashed to his, bright in the lobby light. "I know." The wind moved, cold and cutting. Nina's dark hair lifted around her face, softening it, making her look younger and more vulnerable than she probably wanted to appear. Seth forced his voice gentler. "You have staff. Volunteers. You have animals here that can't be moved easily. That makes this place a leverage point." Nina's mouth tightened. "So what? I'm supposed to shut down because someone with money and a gun doesn't like paperwork?" "No," Seth said immediately. "You're supposed to stay alive." Nina stared at him. There was heat there, not romantic, not yet. Something rawer. Two stubborn people facing the same threat from opposite sides. Then she asked the question he'd been dreading. "Is this because of Stonewater?" Seth didn't answer right away. He didn't like accusing without proof. He didn't like turning suspicion into fact. But there were survey stakes at the crime scene, and now there were cameras on her building. Patterns didn't need permission to exist. "It's connected," he said carefully. "I don't know how high it goes yet. But yes, it's connected." Nina's jaw flexed. "They called me today." Seth's eyes sharpened. "What did they say?" "They asked if I was the doctor with the eagle," Nina said, voice flat now. Like it was a nickname. Like it was already a story. Seth felt anger spike. "Did you tell them anything?" "No," Nina snapped. "Of course not." He believed her. That was the problem. He believed her too easily. Seth glanced down at her hand. The keys were threaded between her fingers the way people did when they'd had to learn fear. His chest tightened again. "Listen," he said. "We're changing how you do things. Starting tonight." Nina's eyes narrowed. "I don't do well with being managed." "I noticed," Seth said dryly. To his surprise, her mouth twitched just a fraction. Good. She was still herself. He continued, "Tonight, you're not sleeping here alone. Tomorrow, we get your facility under basic surveillance, legal surveillance. We notify federal. We get your staff briefed. No one leaves alone after dark. You keep the Eagles case file locked. You document every call." Nina stared at him, then said, "You're going to assign me homework?" "Yes," Seth replied. "And you're going to do it." Her eyes snapped. "Bossy." Seth stepped closer without meaning to, one half step, just enough to lower his voice so the night didn't get to hear it. "Alive," he said again, quieter this time. "That's not negotiable." Nina's breath caught. Seth felt it like a flicker in his own body. A shift. A spark that had no good reason to exist right now except that fear and proximity made everything sharper. He took a step back, reestablishing the distance he needed. Nina looked away first. "Fine," she said, voice clipped. "Where do you expect me to go? I'm not dragging a bald eagle into a Holiday Inn." Seth's mouth twitched. "You can stay at my place." Nina snapped her gaze back to him so fast it almost made him flinch. Seth realized what he'd just offered and immediately regretted it because it sounded wrong. Unprofessional. Personal. He forced himself to keep his face neutral. "I have a spare room. It's closer than anyone else you'd trust. And it keeps you off their radar if they come back here looking for you." Nina studied him like she was trying to decide if he was a threat or a lifeline. Then she said, with deliberate slowness, "Your place." "Yes," Seth said. "And you'll be there." "Yes." "And you won't talk to me like I'm a wayward teenager?" Seth fought the urge to say, "No promises." Instead, I'll try. Nina's mouth twitched. That's not comforting, Seth. It's honest, he replied. Then Nina exhaled, the fight leaking out of her shoulders. Okay. Seth didn't relief show. He turned back toward the door. Lock up, he said. I'll walk the perimeter once more. Then we leave. Nina nodded, then paused. Seth? He looked back. Her voice softened, just slightly. Thank you. Seth held her gaze. He wanted to say something easy. Something that didn't reveal how badly it hit him that she'd been alone in there with that truck outside. Instead, he said, You texted the right person. Nina stared at him for half a second longer than necessary, then ducked back inside to lock up. Seth turned and swept his flashlight across the lot again, scanning for anything else. That's when he saw it. A thin strand of fishing line, nearly invisible, running from the fence post where the camera had been toward the brush near the road, like someone had set a crude tripwire alarm. Not to hurt. To alert. To know when someone arrived. Seth crouched slowly, following it with his light until it disappeared into the weeds. He traced it back, careful. Found the small bell attached at the end, tiny, cheap, the kind used on a cat collar. A silent little idea, I'll know when you come out. Seth's hands curled tight. This wasn't just surveillance. It was psychological. He snapped the line with a controlled tug and pocketed the bell in an evidence bag. Then he stood, staring into the darkness beyond the road. Whoever was doing this wanted her afraid. Wanted her to hesitate. Wanted her to stop being the kind of woman who could testify with clean records, neat radiographs, and a voice that carried weight. Seth's mouth went hard. Not happening, he muttered to the night. Behind him, the lobby door opened again. Nina stepped out, keys now held normally, jacket zipped, her posture composed in the way people got when they'd chosen action over fear. She locked the door and turned to him. Okay, she said, chin lifted. Let's go. Seth nodded, then guided her toward his truck, keeping himself between her and the dark without making it obvious, because he knew she'd hate that. As they reached the passenger door, Nina paused. Her eyes flicked to his face. Just so we're clear, she said. If I'm staying at your place, I'm going to see how you live. Seth blinked. How I live? Yes, Nina said solemnly. And if you own one of those live, laugh, love signs, I'm turning you in. A laugh punched out of him before he could stop it, short, surprised, real. Nina's eyes widened a fraction at the sound, like she'd just proven a theory. Seth caught himself, cleared his throat, and returned to neutral. But the damage was done. He'd laughed. And Nina had looked at him like she liked the man underneath the badge. Seth opened the passenger door for her. Get in, he said. Nina slid into the seat, eyes still watching the dark lot through the windshield. Seth shut the door, circled the hood, and climbed into the driver's side. He started the engine. As the headlights swept over the facility one last time, the beam caught something taped to the inside of the front window, something Nina hadn't noticed because it was hidden by glare from inside. A small square of paper. White. Plain. Seth's stomach turned cold. He killed the engine again and got out, moving fast. Nina's door opened behind him. What? She demanded, stepping out. Seth didn't answer. He walked up to the window and angled his light. 3 words, printed in neat block letters, too neat to be an accident. Release it here. Nina went utterly still beside him. Her breath left her in a sharp whisper. Oh my God. Seth stared at the note until the letters blurred. A threat. A command. A trap being built in real time. He peeled the paper away carefully with gloved fingers, slid it into an evidence sleeve, and turned to Nina. His voice was low and iron-controlled. They know what you want to do, he said. And they're trying to choose where it happens. Nina's eyes were bright, furious, scared, determined all at once. Seth held her gaze. We don't do it their way, he said. Nina nodded once, hard. No. Seth opened her passenger door again. Then we start planning ours. And as Nina climbed back into his truck, Seth watched the dark road one more time, certain now that somewhere out there, someone was smiling. Because the game had officially become personal.